It's time for my 10 favorite Deep Space Nine episodes. Starting at number 10, Waltz. Following the season 5 finale, Deep Space Nine has been occupied by the Dominion, and after that, in episodes that appear later on this list, a battle is staged to retake the station, and once the dust settles, Gul Dukat is being taken on trial. Sisko is a part of this trial, and while they're en route, the ship they're on is attacked, and Sisko and Dukat are stranded together on a desolate planet, and Sisko is at the literal whim of a madman with nothing but his wits to keep him alive. The interplay between them is great, and I especially love the dynamic that Sisko is literally the person Dukat hates the most in the entire universe, but he's also the person whose respect he craves the most in the entire universe. It's a great interplay between them, and this episode truly belongs to Mark Alamo as Gul Dukat. Number 9, Far Beyond the Stars. This is a very thought-provoking commentary on racism. The Prophets give Sisko a vision where he's Benny Russell, a black 1950s science fiction writer in New York, and he sees a picture of a spaceship and he writes Deep Space Nine, and it's about his struggle to get this story published. The editor tells him no one will read a story with a black main character, and it's a heartbreaking dynamic. We see this man deal with racism at work and on a day-to-day basis. All the cast members slip into these new human roles effortlessly. Some of them we get to see without makeup, and I'm sure they had fun not really having any extensive makeup for the scenes. It's a great episode with layered, complex characters like the editor who, although he tells him no one will read a story with a black main character, there are scenes where we get the sense that he wants to help, but he just keeps holding back. So it's well done, and it has an ending that is gonna leave you shaken. Number 8, Troubles and Tribulations. Deep Space Nine did not shy away from dealing with heavier stuff, but this episode isn't one of them. It's just Star Trek having a lot of fun with itself. The cast goes back in time to an episode of the original series, as the names would imply if you guessed right if you said Trouble with Tribbles. It has great effects to put the cast in the original footage almost flawlessly. It still holds up today. We get to see Sisko interact with Kirk. We get to see Bashir and O'Brien in a bare-knuckle fist fight. This episode is a lot of fun. The plot is just blah blah blah, time travel, blah blah blah, keep the timeline normal, blah blah blah, prevent disaster, but it's just a fun episode you will enjoy. Number 7, Improbable Cause, the Dias Cast. The episodes begin with Elam Garrick's tailor shop getting bombed, and thus we go on a mystery to find out who's behind it. The strength of this really relies on the scenes between Garrick and Odo and how well their ideologies clash. You have Odo's strong moral code, and you have Garrick's more ambiguous moral code. His false ignorances, his half-truths, his lies, they clash brilliantly. This has a lot. It has action at times. It has laugh-out-loud comedy. It has a disturbing torture scene in part 2, and the characters are not the same after this. Again, great work, and yeah, I'm counting two-parters as one tier on the list. Number 6, The Visitor. Deep Space Nine's Hugo-nominated episode, and Sarah Lofton, who played Jake Sisko, really his first time to shine on camera. His father is seemingly killed before his eyes on the Defiant, and we go through his life as we see he can't move on from the grief. And that's what this episode is about, is grief. We see a boy lose his father and be unable to move on, and we watch heartbroken as he destroys his life because of it. And Sarah Lofton's performance is just complimented when Tony Todd plays an older Jake Sisko, and to Tony Todd's credit, you can tell he really nailed playing an older Jake Sisko. He looked at Sarah Lofton's performance, and he crafted a performance of an older Jake Sisko that is so complimentary of Sarah Lofton that it just feels natural. And again, it has one of those endings that this one will bring a tear to your eyes. Number 5, Homefront Paradise Lost, and how frighteningly relevant the message in this episode is. These episodes are today. They offer a well-done, poignant argument for the preservation of civil liberties in the face of fear. Sound familiar? I couldn't help rewatching the series this last time, but have my blood run cold as I see what's going on in this episode and look on the news and see the same thing happening. How people are willing to give up freedoms because they're scared of the virus. Ugh. There is a terrorist attack on Earth by a Dominion shapeshifter, and Sisko and Odo are sent to Earth to investigate and help improve security, but it doesn't take long to realize something's up. We see characters, and it is chilling to see them go against their moral code in what they know is right for safety and security. And I do feel the shining performance in this falls to the actor that plays Benjamin Sisko's father when he gives his speech while they're trying to take a blood test. That is brilliant, and his conclusion at the end that, yeah, I'm scared of the Dominion, but I'm not going to let that change how I live my life. Again, frighteningly relevant message for today. Number 4, Way of the Warrior. A fleet of Klingon ships decloak around the station, and it doesn't take long to realize something's up. Sisko, needing help dealing with the Klingons, gets Lieutenant Commander Worf transferred to the station, and it's great to see Michael Dorn back. We get a fully developed character who's going to grow more, and it's well done. Worf, at this point, he's in a state of grief after losing the Enterprise and questioning whether he belongs in Starfleet. In this episode, in a lot of ways, is him finding his identity now that his ship is gone. This episode also has a pretty good space battle where we see Deep Space Nine cut loose, and it's a sight to behold. This is a feature-length episode, and it has everything you would want in a Hollywood blockbuster. You can't go wrong with Way of the Warrior. Number 3, Favors the Bold, Sacrifice of Angels. Deep Space Nine at its best. After the Season 5 finale with the occupation of Deep Space Nine, Sisko gets the fleet together to retake the station. They're at a race against the clock because at any time Dominion reinforcements could come pouring through the wormhole once the mines are disabled. We have characters that are facing execution for plotting against the Dominion. We have betrayals, we have redemptions, we have epic space battles, we have Mark Alamo as Gul Dukat, Star Trek's best villain at his best. This episode is an absolute blowout masterpiece. This is a great two-parter, and it is epic in every definite sense of the word. It's a true masterpiece. Number 2, In the Pale Moonlight. This episode is a confession by Sisko about how he got his hands dirty, how he participated in bribery, how he became complicit in a murder, all to drag the Romulans into the Dominion War because the Federation is losing. This episode is like, it's his confession, and as we see him give the confession, he starts removing pieces of his uniform as he begins betraying everything it stands for. I don't want to go into too much, but I'll say it's got Elam Garrick in it, which is always a plus. Andrew Robinson managed to steal every scene he's in Deep Space Nine, and this episode is no exception. And it's got a chilling closing monologue where Sisko concludes he can live with what he did because the self-respect of one Starfleet officer is a small price to pay to win the war. And number 1, my favorite episode, Duet. A Cardassian patient shows up at the station who has Kalanora syndrome, something he could only have contracted at a Bajoran forced labor camp. Kira then goes and investigates. She wants him tried and put to death as a war criminal and comes to believe he's the former head of that camp, Goldar Heel, and the interplay between these two is phenomenal. It feels like it should be on stage. It's that good. Kira tries everything she can to stay professional, to find some, just the least amount of remorse or regret in this man, only to have it thrown back in her face by such brutal and stinging dialogue. It's some of the most vile dialogue you'll ever hear any villain utter. What you call genocide, I call a day's work. In this episode, it belongs to both Nana Visitor as Kira and Harris Yulin as Goldar Heel, with a tearjerker of a finale that says a lot about the power of forgiveness and the evil of hate. This episode is one that it reduces me to tears every time I see it. It's that good, that powerful, and it feels like it's something that should be taught, shown in schools to demonstrate that kind of power. Before I close, I want to give an honorable mention. Explorers. Sisko finds plans to an ancient Bajoran solar ship that was believed to have gone to warp speed, and it's just a father-son story with them on this ship together. It's a great episode. So those are my 10 favorite Deep Space Nine episodes. What are yours if you've seen it? Do any of these 10 pique your interest? If you haven't seen it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Over and out.